This is a group stage match of the tournament between the first and fourth bucket of their group. On the left, we have Vascos, who is the 119 seed, who has just over a 2-hour PB. And on the right over here, we have Dklutie, who is the first bucket. He's the 18th seed overall with a PB of 127.29. Really solid PB for him. So quite a bit of a gap between these two runners. However, absolutely anything can happen in this game. So it can definitely turn into a good race at any point.
Yeah, and I mean, even when there's a gap, as you're saying, anything can happen in the context of a race. And also, you can always just, see runners perform and just see them showcase separate strats. And very often, every runner in this tournament is pretty much on permanent PB watch at this point. So everyone's just been playing so out of their mind these past few days. It's been a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. We've already seen, I think, 7 or 8 PBs in this tournament so far. And I would imagine Vascos, with the PB that he's sitting at right now, knowing what he's capable of, given the fact that he plays a lot of other glitch categories and stuff. So he has a lot of experience with this game, and particularly, the more glitched versions. This is obviously no major glitches, which means we're not going to be using any major sequence breaks or anything like that. But yeah, I think Vascos is definitely entirely capable of PBing at any point. Dklutie is he's definitely a more experienced runner of this game. He's been around the community for quite some time, if I remember correctly. He's taken some extended breaks here and there from the game, as can be healthy to do from time to time. So, but he's recently come back out of semi-retirement for this tournament. So it's always cool to see the older players coming back and getting back into the swing of things. The tourney always seems to bring people out of the woodwork. All right, so this opening segment of the run here isn't really a ton going on here. It's called Escape. It's mainly because we just want to get the heck out of here and get on our way and get to the much more interesting parts of the game. One of the first points here is this little mini boss with the ball and chain guard, but both of our runners handling that nicely. Going to pick up a lantern and a dame, and then we're going to head on into the sewers. So you can kind of notice there's a little bit difference in their picture qualities here. I believe Vascos is, I think he's playing on an emulator, and I'm pretty sure DK plays on console. So that can explain, kind of the difference that we're seeing. You can kind of see, interestingly, Vascos's inputs in the top left of the screen there, so you can kind of see what's going on a little bit, whereas with DK you can't.
That's a nice observation. I didn't even notice that input display up there, but it's always cool to be able to watch those and see exactly what runners are doing. I find them really helpful when I'm trying to learn new tricks or strategies. And there's the rope RNG for Dklutie, and getting a really nice rope pattern, whereas Vascos had a wall of ropes there. Took a hit to get through them pretty quickly.
Yeah, there's definitely lots of little RNG patterns that all of these enemies here back in the sewers can give you. So a lot of how you get quickly through this section depends on how well you read and react to the slight differences in RNG. One of the points of RNG DK is coming up on right now. It's the key rat, and where that the rat that actually has the key that he drops goes, you can end up in a few different spots, and one spot or another can lose you more time. If he goes into the top left of the room, you're going to end up losing a little bit more time than if he comes straight at you, but not really a major difference. These guys are going to still be pretty even coming up at the end of escape here.
Yeah, if you watch on Vascos' input display, you'll see him hold right here as he hits that door transition into this lever room, and having a little bit of trouble grabbing that lever, but there he's got it.
Hey, we're getting. Sorry to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
We're going to get another instance of the inquiry frames here on Vascos' side. You see that he has only 1 heart remaining, which actually makes this text go by a little bit faster in this cutscene. I can save you upwards of a second, but sometimes it can be a little bit less than that. But just by having less hearts, you can actually save time, which is kind of an interesting mechanic. Vasco's dodging the save and quit menu there. That can be kind of interesting because you're trying to hold down out of that text box. So what can often happen is if you're not holding down before that text box comes up, then you'll end up moving down to that second option there, which is the save and quit option, which you definitely do not want to do, as it is not allowed in this category, and that's why you're seeing this overworld segment right here take place.
Yeah, that do you understand text box has gotten me a couple times there in Sanctuary the past few days. And one time it was off of a gold Sanctuary split, and I just kept it, but usually you'll throw those back, but of course the racers don't get that opportunity, so they'll be really careful to not buffer that down input in the Sanctuary dialogue.
Yeah, thank you for correcting me there. That actually was not the save and quit menu. I don't know what I was thinking about there. That was just the option to speak to the priest again, which, yeah, would definitely be a bad thing as well, and actually probably lose you more time than the save and quit that I incorrectly spoke of.
I think it ended up costing me right around 10 seconds or so every time I've made that mistake. It's been twice now, and hopefully never again, because it feels awful. But both runners now into their first dungeon of the game, Eastern Palace. We'll see a couple key speed strats here. The first one coming up on DK's side here on this next screen, the Stalfos room. He'll walk a pretty careful pattern to not cross any... and having a little bit of trouble there. But maybe we'll see it on Vasco's side, where he'll walk a pretty careful pattern to not trigger the skeleton spawn until he gets to a point in the room where he can spawn one of them sort of off-screen and one on the pot. And he'll end up only killing 2 skeletons by throwing pots at those spawn points, and able to catch up just by a couple seconds there by executing that really well.
All right, so you see a small difference here. DK passed by those arrows that you saw Vascos just pick up. So what this is going to trigger now is a little bit of an RNG thing at the end, where if DK doesn't get an arrow drop from any of the enemies at the end of the dungeon, he's going to have to stop and go grab a pot of arrows in order to actually be able to finish the boss of this dungeon. So he's taking a 1 in 8 chance that he's going to actually get a drop and be able to finish off the boss with enough arrows.
Yeah, but DK getting a nice red rupee drop there. That's something that the runners are going to be watching for here, basically to do rupee management up until the first dungeon of the Dark World, where they're going to have to pay an extortionist monkey to let them into the dungeon.
Extortionist monkey. That sounds like a pretty solid band name, actually.
I I feel like I'd see them as an opener for something, but
yeah, just getting their start, you know, trying to make it on the scene.
Yeah, I don't know if I would see their headline show, but I would totally dig it as an opener.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, that was actually really close. Vascos, obviously sitting at 1 heart here, just about kissed one of those Igors, and that would have been the end of him, and he would have to start at the beginning of the dungeon, but stops just short and nails him in the face with an arrow. So, all right. DK in a pretty RNG heavy room as well. Those 2 Stalfos can walk in a variety of patterns, so he handles it pretty well, gets all the drops that he would ever need in the world, so he doesn't have to worry about that 1 in 8 chance of not getting any. Looks like Vasco got some nice drops as well. No rupees just yet, though. Only this green that he's going to grab here. I'm not sure if which rupee route he does, but that could play into it a little bit later.
I see in the chat that he's running against 143 splits, so I think we may see him take Sahasrara rupees, but
okay.
we'll see what he goes for.
And DK, you saw, got the quick kill on Armos there where he didn't turn red. However, Vascos was not able to finish him off. That Armos will regain all of his health, so you have to actually finish him off with 3 arrows, whereas DK already had 2 arrows into the one that he finished off with the very last arrow he shot. But still, not much of a difference at all separating these guys. And Light World can definitely affect your deltas very heavily in a few key spots.
Yeah, thankfully Vascos was able to clean up the Armos Knight fight with not too huge of a time loss, didn't run out of arrows or anything. And both runners now are going to get their boots, so we will officially have a speed run going.
Yeah, we can finally go fast now. We can go at 4 pixels per frame, which DK is also doing, but you'll notice that he can turn and actually change directions, whereas while you're dashing, normally you can't. So what he did there was what we refer to as a spin dash, which puts you into a glitch state that after you come off of those manual stairs there, you end up just you know, being able to run around at dashing speed. So very cool tech there. Doesn't really save a ton of time throughout the entire run. You know, maybe you're looking at a total of like 13 seconds or something like that with just the spin speeds alone, the spin dashes. Looks like he's going to do another one here at the library. This can be a tough one to actually get the movement down really smoothly to where you're saving time, but that was really clean movement right there.
Yeah, that was a very nice segment from DK. Vascos went for the spin speed there outside of Sahasrara, backed it up with some dashes until he was able to get down to the ledge. Not too big of a time loss there. It was good that he didn't spend too much time going over and over for spin speed. It can be a little tricky to get, and then once you miss it the first time, it can kind of get in your head.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah. It's one of those tricks that you have to just be confident in, and when it goes out, it just kind of leaves you for a period of time. And so you kind of saw the difference in the cleanliness of their movement there. Vascos did the same library spin speed, but in my estimation, I'm not really sure that he saved time with it. And so, you know, as you're saying, spin speed can be kind of a difficult thing to even save time with. I mean, it's a cool glitch, and you know, you should do it because it's really fun. But it can be really easy to actually end up losing time with it, especially like on some screens if you just sit there retrying it over and over again because you're just adamant that you're going to get this glitch, which I totally understand. I've definitely been in that boat before, but you just have to understand that you're not saving time with it. You just got to move on.
Yeah, we'll see. There's a spin speed coming up here in Desert for DK that is a fairly minor time save, but if it goes wrong, you end up hopping off the ledge and needing to redo the front part of Desert. I know a lot of runners don't go for it. We'll see if DK does. Yeah, that's a really good example there that you bring up, because that's one of those things where it saves less than a second, but you can lose on the order of, you know, I'm not sure actually what the exact time mark is, but it's absolutely well over 10-20 seconds, maybe 10 to 20 seconds, something like that. If you jump off the ledge and have to go through the opening part, it's probably even longer than that. I'm not quite sure. It's probably something like 40 seconds given everything, but I've not actually timed it out, but it is.
Yeah, that's one of those things
a lot.
You never want to have to time, right? Or you never want to see and just like look over and say, okay, well, this is how much time this loses. You know, you never want to find yourself in that situation. So, yeah, we'll see what he does when he gets out of the first part of Desert here, if he chooses to do that spin speed or not.
Yeah, something cool I've picked up from watching some of the runners in this tournament, what a lot of people will do with that is, because it is such a high-risk thing and they will want to menu to lamp at some point, is they'll pause buffer the movement to avoid the ledge and menu to lamp at the same time. And that can make it a little bit safer, because it's a time sink that you're going to have to pay that cost to menu to lamp at some point anyway.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and I think that's something that's really cool to watch out for between these runners too, is where they actually choose to pause when they have to change items. I mean, you can kind of choose to do it wherever you want, but they're going to be, yeah, he is going for the D2 spin speed area. He does the pause buffer to the lamp there, just exactly as you said, to save himself from running off the edge. So that can save anywhere from, you know, I think the average is like 40 frames, something like that, if you do the movement pretty well. So that's a pretty worthy spin speed in terms of, like, it's one of the bigger time saves for spin speeds, but yeah, risky, but he executed it really well there.
Yeah, very nicely done. Basically exactly textbook the way you would want it drawn up. Also, we'll see him go for some key dashes here. The one we just saw where he rubbed off the pot set him up nicely. Basically everything, all the items on the screen are multiples of 4 pixels, and 4 pixel per frame movement is going to set you up for a key dash perfectly. So if you rub or bump something during the dash, then you'll be all set up. We saw Vascos unfortunately miss one. He was...
Ooh. I'm sorry, but DK just killed one of the Lambos in the first cycle. Oh my gosh, that was almost a 2-cycle. Holy moly. That was a really sexy Landmo fight from DK. This fight is not easy at all. These Landmos are pretty much made of pure hate and RNG, so yeah, whew, that was a good fight.
Yeah, that is, bar none, the best Landmo I have seen thus far in this tournament. I haven't watched all the VODs yet, so apologies to those whose Landmos I have missed, but that was a fantastic Landmo. We'll see what Vascos has in store for us here.
He gets 3 into the first worm, but didn't look like any damage on the rest of them, but he ends up killing that worm. Got some healthy damage on the last 2 now, going into his 3rd cycle at this point. Alright, now starting the 4th. He's only got a few hits left on this last one here. Oh, one more! Oh, okay, that was close. Alright, so on DK's side here, he's attempting to execute a glitch called Fake Flippers. He's going to get himself to the edge of the screen to where he only has to move for 1 frame to transition the screen. The game gives you 1 frame of movement for free before it actually checks if you have the flippers or not and sending you back to land. So he's able to transition the screen there, and once he's on the next screen, the game just assumes that you have flippers at that point, and so he can just swim on from there.
And Vascos finishing up Landmo. Did a really nice job in the 2nd round, I think it was, for Landmo, getting 2 arrows in the 1 Landmo on a short hop. I thought that was really, really well done.
Yeah, one of the things about Landmo and handling the fight, I mean, it's a really difficult fight. I mean, it's almost impossible to overstate just how difficult it is. It takes literally thousands of hours of practice to get really good and consistent with it. So one of the things that you'll start to learn is to spread out your damage a little bit more. You know, putting 3 arrows into the very first worm is great, but if you don't damage any of the last 2, and you're going to spend a lot of the fight chasing those 2 around, and as the fight goes on, it does not get easier. So especially when you leave 1 worm left that has all of its health, because it's going to start spitting out those rocks in 8 different directions. So, ooh, nicely done by Vascos there. So the thing about fake flippers is that if you get hit while you're in that glitch state, the game doesn't know where to send you. So it just puts you into a soft lock state. The only way to get out of that is by holding select and saving and quitting out of it, which normally wouldn't be allowed for this category, but for the purposes of this tournament and for races, we do allow the runners to recover from that by using save and quit.
Yeah, and we saw Vascos pick up the bush to set it up, which is a slightly different setup from what we saw DK use, slashing the bush and using that slash animation to sort of buffer the up and right input. DK unfortunately had a little bit of trouble with it on the first pass, but was able to fix it, and Vascos was able to get it there on the first try. And so it was kind of cool to see both runners showcase a different approach, which is a little bit of what I was saying earlier, just about with bigger PB differences, we may see a variety of strats come out, and we'll just see across the two screens completely different sets of ways to handle some of these screens, and I always enjoy that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people may think, well, I mean, why would they just play the same game over and over again? Where's the fun in that? But there are just so many different ways you can do almost every single room, and everyone kind of has their own flavor and style of running, and yeah, that's one of the most enjoyable things for me to watch in this tournament. So you may have noticed DK, while he was in that tile room, was standing on top of those pegs, and he got there by doing a boom dash, which is one of the many item dashes you can do in this game. All you have to do is hit the A button and the Y button on the exact same frame, and you will both dash and use the item. So he was using that particular minor glitch to get that sexy little boom dash there.
Oh, and that was a great Beatles room there from DK. I really like that strat.
And so you saw DK using the boomerang extensively, but it looks like Vascos is going to opt for something a little bit different here. He's going to utilize one of his bombs that he picked up in Saha. It does cost him the time in the menu, but he does get to stand on top of the peg, so that can be a way to do it. DK going to be using a bomb in a slightly different way here to boost himself over this gap and get to the Moon Pearl instead of having to go all the way upstairs and falling from above. So saves a little bit of time there. One of the game mechanics that we abuse in the speed run throughout it.
And we saw DK go for the safety switch to replenish just a little bit of health there before Moldorm. And it's another optional thing. Doesn't cost a lot of time, but can be really key to just safely completing runs. No runner will expect to need the hearts here, because Moldorm doesn't often deal you damage, but when he does, things can go south in a hurry. So it was good to see him just pick up those hearts. And looks like Vascos going for a slightly different Beetle Room strat. I hadn't seen that one before, but it worked out really nicely for him.
Yeah, and DK also finishing up the Moldorm fight, which can be a real pain for runners of almost every level. It's definitely not an easy fight either, but once you start to understand Moldorm's AI a little better and how he moves, you can start handling the fight a little better. It looks like DK had a really nice fight. Anytime you don't fall off the platform or you know, just get otherwise trolled by Moldorm by him like guarding the entrance to his little pit. Oh no, Vascos looked like he was attempting the same bomb jump that DK did, but he wasn't actually close enough to the edge of the pit in order to get boosted over. I think he would have been okay as long as he bonked a little bit later, but unfortunately he landed and was not in the bonking state, which is what actually allows you to get sent over the edge up to a maximum of 6 pixels away from it. So it kind of widens the gap that you have to be away from the edge. Otherwise you'd have to be 2 pixels next to it in order to get boosted over. So it's like DK now is going to be finishing up his Tree Rupee route, which involves killing 4 enemies while not taking damage. I noticed that he's missing half a heart, but I did not see actually how he got damaged. I don't know if it was outside of Hera before he pulled the first tree or not. Alright, so Vascos has to be a little bit careful here. Alright, it's a good thing he waited there. The fire of the Kadanko, after it goes out, it actually is still there for a few frames. So if you think it's disappeared and you just try to walk past it and still get damaged and you wonder what's going on, that's just the video game for you.
For whatever reason, those flames have a way of lingering and continuing to deal damage, so it was good that he was able to wait. And we see Vascos holding out his sword and holding away from the edge there to keep from getting bonked into the pit by Moldorm or off the edge. That was a little bit dicey there, that maneuver, but he made it through okay. Moldorm being a bit of a jerk today.
Alright, so the chat is clarifying that DK got hit by a pickle while he was executing this tree rupee route. So you notice that he got blue rupees out of that tree. What he wanted to see was red rupees, so he's going to have to do a backup tree pull here. And so he's going to have to kill 4 more enemies without taking damage. And then he's going to pull a tree in the courtyard of Hyrule Castle here to hopefully get to the requisite 110 that he needs for Kiki.
Yeah, and all of the tree pulling stuff that DK is going through right now, we probably will not see Vascos go for, because Vascos grabbed those rupees from the back of Sahasrara's hut. And there it is, DK getting that 80 rupee pull, picking up 60 of them, but getting himself over 110, so he'll be good by the time he gets to pod.
Yep, he is all good to go. Vascos, he actually does need at least 2 more rupees, so it looks like he is going to pull this tree here and just grab a few of the blues. The reason that he did that was because he is going to get 6 more rupees naturally in Aga Tower in the Circle of Pots, but he was sitting at 102, so he only would have been at 108. So, yeah, he needed at least 2 more there, so probably a smart move to just go ahead and pull the tree there and grab him at that point. So it looked like DK didn't get any drops in that room of Aga Tower, so he properly maintained his prize pack so that he could potentially get a fairy drop in T-Rock later, but we'll talk a little bit more about that when it comes to the time.
Yeah, and I guess we saw with Vascos getting his rupees set up, going for that tree pull like you mentioned, but then also passing by the mushroom on the first pass. We'll see. I think he's probably going to grab it and take powder on the way back, but I don't believe we saw DK grab the mushroom at all. Did you catch that?
I'm pretty sure he passed it by. If I'm familiar with his runs, then he will not be grabbing powder, but yeah, I would expect Vascos to grab it, and honestly, I don't blame anyone at any skill level for grabbing powder because it is an amazing safety, and it will save your butt so many times and definitely be well worth the small amount of time, which is around something like 40 seconds to actually go and retrieve the powder from the witch and everything. So it's a little bit of a time loss, up front, but yeah, if it saves you from dying in a dungeon, you're going to be saving that time.
Yeah, powder is my absolute favorite item in this game. Everything else is second to powder, honestly.
Yeah, I kept it for a really, really long time as a runner myself. Yeah, I wanted to keep it for longer than I did, but kind of got to break it sometime, and it does kind of force you to get a little bit better at the game and be better about managing your HP. So DK is going to be rolling into the Aghanim fight at the top of the tower here. This fight is a major source of unmitigatable RNG, so he is going to be wanting to see nothing but energy balls that he can actually reflect back at Aga here. If he gets blue balls, he can't actually reflect those attacks back, and it's a 50-50 as to whether or not he gets them on these 3 attacks right here. So that first one you saw was a blue ball. This one's a blue ball, and he's got one more 50-50. At least Aghanim isn't warping much. And a 3 for 3, so 15, the dream is alive.
You're alive.
It's not really the dream that you want to be having, it's more of a nightmare, I suppose, but...
Less RNGs in the chat.
Yeah. So he is guaranteed to get at least 1 energy ball on each of these cycles. So. Alright, there we go. 15's dead.
15.
3 is the best that he can absolutely get here. Anytime that he gets 3 or 7 or 11, I believe, is the next number, he's going to get an extra lightning attack out of that, which is another 6 seconds that you're going to lose and can't do anything about. So this is one of the spots of every race that you should be keeping an eye on, because it can definitely even him up pretty quickly. So looked like he is just going to get out of there with the 3, I believe. He killed him on the first hit of that next lightning cycle, so that means he got 3.
Yeah, 3 is the most likely outcome, the way the coin flip math works out. So ended up with the mode, but it still never feels good to know you're getting that second lightning cycle.
Yeah, it just feels very neutral face, is the way that feels. But still a pretty decent light world. Anytime you can get a 30xx light world sort up time, that's pretty decent. I think DK has a pretty strong dark world, so I think he should be on a pretty good run here. So we'll see if Vascos can make up any time on him by getting some slightly better RNG. If he gets anything less than 3, he's going to save at least 6 seconds on him. So that can be just one way that this race can tighten up a little bit.
Yeah, Vascos headed into his Aghanim fight, so he will have the same opportunity for blue balls. And DK taking a pterodactyl hit there from the little chibi Ridley that was hanging out there in the
What did you call it?
I referred to it as a chibi Ridley.
I love that.
because my Super Metroid roots are showing. I apologize.
No, that's great. I love that.
But those things hit like a truck. 3 hearts of damage already. We'll have to see how DK is able to keep his health in order here through pod.
Yeah, that's definitely not insignificant that he took that damage. So he's going to be looking to maybe get some heart drops from maybe the Helma on the pod bridge. But he's going to take some damage here by doing a bomb jump. Let's see, Vascos, I think I saw at least 1 blue ball already on his side.
Yeah, there was one. One I've seen so far. I may have missed one belt. And there's 2. Okay, so yeah. Two so far.
Yeah, it'll be easy to tell based on when he actually does kill Aga. Alright. Could be 3, could be more. We'll know if he kills him right after this lightning attack, it was 3.
Yeah, I think it's 3, and we'll find out. No?
It was 4.
4 it was.
So that's kind of unfortunate. I mean, he's going to lose a little bit of time to DK just based on RNG, which you never want to see. You know, you always want to root for a good race to happen here. Anything can still happen, though. I mean, any of these Dark World boss deaths, they're definitely not short time losses. So, all right. So we got DK heading over to a very difficult trick in this dungeon, one of the most difficult tricks in the game. He's going to be executing the bomb jump here to get over to the hammer. So he needs to plant the bomb on a very specific y-axis and then put Link on a very specific y-axis in order to get boosted across. It looks like he did that with 0 extra buffers. You get 2 free buffers to change to the bombs and then back to the mirror there. And he's using those buffers to check Link's position to make sure he's in the right spot. And he did that without having to, use the pause menu any additional times there than was necessary. So, really excellent bomb jump coming out of DK.
Yeah, DK really showing off nice execution with the hammer jump. We'll see if Vascos is able to match, but basically not even using all of the quote-unquote free buffers. That's basically as good as you can get.
Yep.
Nice statue from DK. A little bit of a stutter, so we'll say a moderate statue, but I thought it looked pretty good.
Yeah, that was pretty nice. But the fact that he's down 1 heart here is pretty significant. You see he has to arrow that crystal switch instead of just being able to use sword beams. So that loses him an arrow. And now once he gets down into this dark room, down these stairs past this cutscene, he's not going to be able to beam the crystal switch. So What he is most likely going to do is pause and change to the boomerang after he uses the hammer here. He's going to throw that after the crystal switch. But that loses just a little bit of time. Nice. Going for the swag boom there. If you hit up and right and Y all on the same frame, you can throw that boomerang back perfectly diagonal to hit that crystal switch, and Link won't actually turn around and move at all. So cool that he attempted that trick, but
really nice Turtles room there from DK. And another thing about him missing a heart at this point is that will allow 3 hits by Helmasaur, or not allow, but the 3rd hit will kill him because everything will deal 2 hearts in this fight. And so that 7th heart, Sank heart, really shows up big in the Helmasaur fight because it does give you the ability to take 3 hits in a fight that can be surprisingly difficult, but so far so good.
Ooh, okay. Okay, he's taking 1 hit. He's going for these really precise hammer hits on Helma here in the 2nd phase, and gets through the fight nicely. He ended up hitting Helma with 3 of those hammers and also released a spin on him, which is enough to finish that fight off. So overall, a really nice fight. Only took 1 hit there, so... We got Vascos' attempt at the bomb jump coming up now.
And we see what we were talking about there, where Vascos already went ahead and menued for his bomb, and uses some select buffering.
Yeah, it looks like he uses both a different kind of buffering, and then he will probably be using some different cues there with the select menu as well. A lot of runners use what is actually shown between the start menu itself, or sometimes you can probably use the select menu as well, as long as it ends up in the same spot. So he has his own method of doing that with select buffers, and it looked like it worked out really well. The thing about buffering and why you want to do it is because that the bridge is falling at the same time as you're trying to execute that trick. So using those buffers pauses the game and stops the bridge from falling.
Yeah, that select buffering looked really nice. I may actually have to fiddle around with that later today. See if I can't figure out some visual cues, because just it allowed him to see exactly where Link was on the screen, whereas pause buffering, Link is covered and you have to use some other visual cues. It's not
exactly, yeah, and not to mention the fact that you have to wait for the pause menu to go down and back up again. So
yeah, the menu scrolling that you can circumvent by using the select buffer seemed really nice. He was able to do quite a lot of buffering, but still get through it in a very quick time. Yeah, I see a mention in the chat that they're approximately a cold stare death apart, just alluding to the fact that basically any of these boss deaths in Dark World can be quite costly, and cold stare probably the worst of them.
Yeah.
But just any of these fights, because they expect you to have, starting with cold stare, blue mail, and just expect things like bottles and fairies as safeties.
Nice turtle room from Vascos. Slightly different strat again than DK, but pretty much getting the same effect.
Yeah, again, hadn't seen turtles done quite that way. I'm actually really enjoying a lot of the things Vascos is showing this race.
You see DK is slashing his sword there, and that's not just because it looks kind of cool. He's going to be charging up for a spin dash here that he's going to get off of some stairs directly to the north. This strat can save like anywhere from 5 to 10 frames. Holy crap!
Oh, that Helma. I saw that so proud from Vascos in the chat, and I thought we are in for a treat, and there it was.
No kidding. That was almost just a flawlessly executed Helma. I saw the end of that second phase there, and that was just perfect. That's definitely not easy to do. The hitbox for Helma is very, very precise to get those hammer hits off, so not an easy thing to do, and he executed that really well.
Yeah, three perfect hammer strikes into a spin. A really good Helma behavior, but really capitalized on it, getting those 17 hammer hits in for phase 1. Just very clean. That was awesome. Vascos into what is probably my least favorite cutscene in the game, just because this maiden talks forever because she's the first one you're supposed to see.
She's got a lot of important facts to tell you, apparently. I could not tell you a single one of those facts, what they actually are.
Something about there being 7 maidens and their dungeons, and you
Didn't Zelda tell us that already, though? Like, we already know the story. Let's go. Yeah, but that's the second longest cutscene in Dark World here, so it's definitely kind of a painful one to sit through, but it's really kind of the only downtime you get in the NMG run here. So it's kind of the time where people tend to, you know, just mash and look at chat and kind of chill out a little bit and answer some questions. So.
You say downtime, I think about how much I hate all of the mashing.
Ooh. Oh man, that's unfortunate. So DK in here is in what's affectionately referred to as the hellway of that dungeon. And there is exactly 1 pixel that you can dash up on there. One specific X-axis that you can dash up on and dash through cleanly, but unfortunately he got some bad RNG there and wasn't able to complete his dash, but smartly he stopped the dash instead of continuing it through and taking damage from those Patrick stars.
Yeah, setting up the frame perfect dash stop or dash cancel to get the right pixel to dash up in the hellway is one thing, and then reading the RNG to know when to then dash cancel that if you get it, so that you don't take damage, is another thing entirely. So really well done by DK.
Yeah, definitely a tough room, and when it goes badly, like recovering from a bad one is another skill entirely as well. So Vascos can be hopefully sliding past Usain Bolt here, the fastest guard in Hyrule. There's a nice spin speed that we usually do there to run directly past this guy, because as you can see, he is just as fast, if not faster, than Link is. So he can definitely give you a hard time. DK getting a little roughed up in the prison there, it looked like, but he's still got a decent amount of health, so I think he'll be fine for the rest of this dungeon. And you're not really ever too worried in Thieves Town, especially at this point, once you've gotten the mitts and you're basically just on your way to the boss fight here. So
yeah, thankfully Thieves Town, while it can be one of the dungeons where the individual screens can go badly and you can take a lot of hearts of damage, the blind fight at the end is one of the few sort of truly scripted bosses.
Sorry, I got a little bit excited there because I thought Vascos was going to go for Witch's Hut spin speed, which is pretty much my favorite spin speed in the entire game.
I wasn't aware of Witch's Hut spin speed until recently, and then just started going for it the other night, and it's a fun one. I really like it.
Bless you, sir. Thank you for doing that. It's so much fun. It really is. You can slash your sword and actually... Oh no, he went back to the same spot. But you can slash your sword and actually walk up to the witch and still hit Y to drop off the mushroom. So you can charge your sword during that cutscene and then get a spin dash off, and then you know, get the glitch state off of those tiny little stairs there and run to the top. So but yeah, definitely a fun little swaggy thing.
I'm gonna have to set it up that way later when I get down to practice, because that sounds just like a blast.
Yeah, that's really cool too.
A lot of these screens are just really, really fun to do.
Yeah, even just that little hammer dash there that Vascos did, super fun. You just feel like a badass sometimes, you know.
Let's see what Vascos goes for here. Now with Powder in hand. Powder actually, honestly, Thieves Town for me, one of the dungeons where Powder comes up biggest. There, Meyer and T-Rock probably. So he'll have a little bit of added safety for some of the potential bad spots he could find himself in here in the next couple minutes, but hopefully it all goes well.
So DK is gonna grab the little frog friend here and return him to the light world, where he is going to give him a nice little discount on a sword tempering service, so that he only has to pay 10 rupees, and we get a nice little sword upgrade. And then DK will be coming up on the all-important fence dash.
Yeah, I know this fence dash can make or break a run. So we'll see. We don't want to see any resets today.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, what's the point of continuing after you miss it even?
I usually just flute to 1 and wait for boulders.
just end it, man. Just end it. Yeah, it's a fun little trick. We're kind of joking about it. It doesn't really save that much time at all, but it looks really cool, and it's not that difficult to execute. Really, all you have to do is hit left and A at the same time while you're starting your dash on that screen, and then you'll be lined up perfectly to just slide right along the fence. So we're gonna see DK is coming up on it right now. Looks like it looked good. I thought it was good. I was so wrong. But he stuck it out. He just bonked anyway. Shoutouts to him for going for it. My gold split for this segment used to have a bonk on that fence dash, so he can still finish it out strong here. Vascos, meanwhile, 2 heart hype, but he does have powder. He may choose to powder this anti-fairy right here. Yep, smartly waits right there to refill his HP.
I was worried he might not have gotten far enough out of the doorway, but he was there and used the powder. And that's one of the prime spots where you want to go get powder immediately before you do Thieves Town after activating the flute for just that situation. And I thought he might have been getting a... I don't even know what these guys are, the Red Horsemen. I thought he might have gotten some bad RNG there. The horse walked right over him and then turned and went up instead of down while he was lifting that large block. But thankfully, crisis averted.
Alright, so DK about to execute another bomb jump. This one is pretty much exactly the same as the one in Hera, except it's not nearly as punishing, since if you fail it, you're just going to go back to the beginning of this room as opposed to falling down a floor or 2.
Yeah, and we saw him set that up with some sword slashes, and unfortunately getting a skull out of the bush there. A little bit of bad RNG on that, but recovering well.
Yeah, interestingly, the bushes actually work on the same sort of prize pack system that the entire game does. When you kill certain enemies, they're always going to drop a certain sequence of items, and those enemies are grouped together in packs. And bushes are kind of set up the same way, to where they can drop certain things, usually on a 50-50 basis, but they also proceed in a similar sequential fashion. Vascos, barely making it through the quote-unquote scripted blind fight by the skin of his teeth. Shoutouts to Sankheart, one of the best safeties in the game, right up there with powder. Yo, this mummy Hellway, started off so nicely. He's got to be a little bit careful with his magic here. Gets a full magic drop, never mind. He is good to go. Maybe a little bit low on HP here, but as long as he gets past this mini Moldarm and the mummy key here, I think he'll be fine for the moth fight.
Yeah, going for the spike slash there on that Key Gibdo, doing it very well. But yeah, that full magic drop in the Gibdo prize pack has bailed me out more than once in the Mummy Hellway.
Yeah, for sure. Alright, so Moth can be a little bit of a pain here because of a particular glitch that he has in his code, but DK gets through that fight with no problem whatsoever. Vasco's just putting on a little show, doing some bomb juggling tricks here to get the hut open and grab these 300 rupees.
And we'll see Vascos go and free his frog friend, get his tempered sword at a cheap tempering discount. And then basically head up to Skullwoods and do pretty much the same thing that we just saw DK go through. Well, it'll be interesting. We'll have to see what sort of setups he uses for the bomb jump and things like that. We saw DK buffer the timing for the bonk with some sword slashes, but you know, every runner kind of has their own thing to do, so we'll see what Vascos has going on. Meanwhile, DK is setting up, headed up toward the catfish. He's going to take the Aghanim portal and then head across the Ropa lottery screen. So we'll see if he gets good RNG or bad there. A lot of small RNG instances in the A Link to the Past NMG run that can sort of add up or just frustrate. And so here coming up on this screen, this second Ropa here can just jump and hit you, and there's nothing you can do about it, but he gets through okay. That's what's going to happen most of the time. I'll see him go up and get his Quake Medallion, and then head up for Flippers. Going to cost him 500 he had to get both of those 300 rupee pots. What we see out of DK right now is a bonk to set up the correct sort of horizontal screen position, the right X coordinate for a quick warp here. It's going to save him 34 frames on this upcoming mirror. And so I think it's 1 in every 4 pixels for the horizontal camera setting.
It's something like that. It's 2 every 8, so very
okay.
close.
I guess 2 every 8. In a nuanced
2
way,
in a row,
from
yeah.
1 out of 4. Yeah,
I know you like to you just like to reduce fractions. It's fine. You're just doing math.
But we're just all trained to reduce fractions. But yes, it is 2 in 8. Regardless, he's made it through with a bunch of dashing on the water here to get his flippers. So he's gonna have to pay up for those finger webs. Vascos onto my worst room in the game, the mummy statue room here in Skullwoods, and getting...
I swear I saw him in the big chest room before he got to this room. Was he just... Did he just happen to go the wrong way, I guess?
He fell into the hole.
Oh, okay. I didn't see that.
He was trying to dash up to come up here to get the big key and just fell in the hole.
I've definitely only done that like 2 or 3 times. But yeah, Vascos was kind of demonstrating there why I call that the worst room in the game, because there are just so many ways for it to go wrong. He was kind of struggling with the statue there because it kept activating the switch, which I think interrupts the pulling animation and like resets it. So you have to go through like probably a bunch of frames of 0 pixel movements or something, and it just feels so awful.
And here we see Vascos setting up and not using a bonk to increase the window there for the success of that bomb jump, just getting within 2 pixels of the edge. But getting it nicely, having a little trouble setting it up there because you do need to be so close. But knowing his visual cues, and once the bomb went off, he was clean across.
Yep, so speaking of bomb jumps, DK is about to come up to a very important one here in Ice Palace. This lets us basically skip all of the backtracking that you would otherwise have to do to actually make it through this palace. Ooh, nice. DK going for a little strat there where you actually intentionally take damage off those spikes to nudge off of one of the other spikes to put you on a very particular line to dash through. So here is the Ice Palace bomb jump, using some dash buffers to get into position. Very precise positioning there as to where he has to drop the bomb and then put Link, and executed very nicely there after the fall, but gets out of there with no trouble.
Yeah, the game designers designed this great dungeon in Ice Palace that requires you to kind of go around, go through the dungeon twice, hit a bunch of switches. It's very clever design. and then we found a bomb jump to skip all of it, so... The bomb jump's pretty sweet, though, but it is probably the most necessary speed trick in the run for any player starting out.
Okay, Vascos has to be really careful. Nicely done. Using the fire rod to his advantage. Shoutouts to Sankart once again.
Best safety.
Unless you are a 124 runner or just really want to play the game a lot, I guess.
I mean, speedrunning, we do like to play the game a lot, but I don't know. I still like Sankart.
Alright, so DK in the cold stare fight here. This boss is very deadly. Does 4 hearts of damage if he runs into those puffs. Needs to dodge all these falling ice as well because those do 2 hearts. Stick and move, buddy. Stick and move. Stick and move. Link is that's Link's fighting style. You definitely do not want to just stand somewhere and spam your sword. Nicely done. Dodging all the things and living.
Yeah, going for a bit more difficult of a quick kill there with the poke dash strat, and unfortunately the puffs escaped from the corner and gave us all a scare, but made it through okay.
Yeah, that's one of those really, really painful deaths, and it's very costly as well. You're looking at something like 4 minutes, I want to say, to get back through Ice Palace. A lot of the dungeons, if you die to the boss, you've already partially completed the dungeon at least, so you've unlocked some doors. You've hit a statue with an arrow so that a wall is moved or whatever, and the way back to the boss is usually a little bit faster. But with Ice Palace, you don't get that luxury, and you just have to do exactly the same rooms that you just did to get all the way back to the boss.
Yeah, it's a pretty straight shot through the dungeon, but having to do it all twice is no good. It's not what we signed up for with speedrunning this, and so absolutely a death that no runner wants to take. Not that any death is really desirable, but that's an especially bad one. It's like that, and upper gauntlet deaths are pretty bad too.
Ooh. My stomach just turned when I heard you say that. and dying to like Aga 2 at the top of the tower. Man, that's just...
Haven't done that one yet, but I did take a gauntlet the other day in a D-Rust run, and all of a sudden my splits were very, very, very red.
Yeah, if you guys haven't seen the Gauntlet NG Tower, definitely stay tuned for that. 5 of probably the most difficult rooms to execute in the game. There's RNG, there's pretty much every single sprite and collection of enemies that you've seen in the game so far. And there's BMOS and there's ice, and it can be not a very good time. So.
And we pretty much knew with his time that DK was not going to be going for gold sword and silver arrows, but we see him doing swamp here before Mire, so now we know. But I don't know if Vascos will be grabbing the gold sword and silvers. I haven't seen any of his runs yet, and so we may see him choose to do Mire first for slightly cleaner routing to the pyramid. But we won't find out until after Ice Palace.
That was a pretty nicely executed screen there from Vascos on that warp screen. The hitbox of that warp is very deceptive. It's definitely not the entire whirlpool that you see there. It's very, very tiny in comparison to that, so it can be very difficult to actually get in there sometimes without it taking any damage from any enemies, which can be pretty important for Ice Palace here.
And unfortunately, losing sword beams here to an electrified jelly just being a little too close. And so, now no more sword beams, but I guess sword beams aren't too necessary for this dungeon. They're just useful on a handful of screens, mostly screens with jellies.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that, the second room of ice there is one of the big spots that sword beams are used to do some slightly faster strats. But as long as you have, a decent amount of HP and you're surviving throughout the dungeon, that's the most important thing. And I think he'll be fine with his powder. Actually, are there any fairies or bunny beans? Yeah, okay, there is. There's definitely stuff in Ice Palace after you, right before the boss. There's a few rooms up there.
Yeah, there's the one right north of the block switch with one anti-fairy, and then there's the wells you can fall into if you need more than that. I'm not actually sure how many fairies are at the bottom of that well. I think 2, but it's enough.
Yeah, for sure. Alright, so Vascos attempting the Ice Palace bomb jump. He needs to put himself on one of 3 pixels at the edge here, and then move down just a few pixels to put himself in the right spot. Very nicely done. Gonna get past this firebar. Don't get knocked in, please. Thank you. Good stuff.
Yeah, that was well executed by Vascos there.
Oh, nice half chest turn by DK on that big key, too. That one actually is pretty good because you want to be facing left out of that anyway, so it may have actually saved him some time. Who knows?
I'll say I missed it. I actually missed what happened. Whoa, what did he do?
So a chest turn is kind of it's more like a meme thing. It's just kind of a swaggy thing that people do. It doesn't really actually save you any time, but all you really have to do is just hit a D-pad input other than up on a chest at the same time that you open it, and you'll face whatever direction that you press on the D-pad after you open it. So most humans cannot actually cross the D-pad that quickly, to save any time with it. So it's just kind of one of those swaggy things.
Very good to know, at least. And I think we'll see, 6/ attempt here out of Vascos, and so far so good. Puff leaked out. He's going to have to be careful now.
That was a really nice choice of spin there. That was a little close on that last slash, but yeah, it cleans up that fuzz nicely.
Yeah, things weren't perfect, but it went well enough.
Yeah, so slight difference in the boss kill strats between these two guys. Vascos opting for what can be the more safer alternative, which is typically the 6/ strat, where you kind of all the strats kind of just lock cold stare into the corner there, but that can be a slightly easier one. Let's see what DK is going to do on Argus here. It's like he's going to go for the 0 cycle strat. Ooh, no, he faces down.
G.
Yeah, he faced down and hooked there because I think he probably rehooked either early or late after he killed one of those puffs. It's a very, very precise timing window that you actually have to press the hook shot again while you're in that glitch state in order to be able to kill those puffs. But he still cleaned the fight up really, really nicely. I think he still got a 1 cycle out of that, so not losing any time to the normal strat.
Yeah, that's probably one of the most difficult quick kills to execute in this game, and he got quickly, but then Argus just kind of charged, and there wasn't a lot he could do from that point. Like a lot of things in this game, it takes a confluence of favorable RNG and solid execution to get a lot of these strats.
Yes, absolutely. That's a great way to put it. I mean, sometimes you can do everything exactly right, but sometimes the game just says no. So Chad is pointing out that Vascos is actually on really solid PB pace right now. He is -2 minutes after ice, which he golded also apparently. So,
nice.
Good stuff out of Vascos. Definitely on PB watch here.
And that's what I expect out of a lot of folks throughout this tournament. We've seen it a bunch already. Is people are going to be on PB pace late in these runs, and so even if there is a gap between runners in any of these runs, there's always the next split to root for. But beyond that, there's always just good PB possibilities.
These are some nice sword climbs from DK here. You saw on that first tiny set of stairs, he slashed his sword and he hit A and Y at the same time to climb quickly up them, and he did so without actually releasing a spin, which if you do so, you're going to end up actually losing any time that you would have gained otherwise. But did the same thing on those long stairs as well to move just a little bit faster up them.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why it's optimal for runners to do Swamp prior to Mire, is having the hook shot in order to get that before going up and getting Ether. Just to be able to do that stair climb there, on especially that long stairwell.
Yep, it can definitely save you a little bit of time. It's not a huge number, though. Most people can't really get it to save any more than 1 second, but it's not one of those things that it's just really fun to do. And if you can do it, you know, why not go for it and have some fun while you're speedrunning it. It is allowed, I promise.
Vascos, they're dodging my least favorite Moblin. Second least favorite Moblin. Least favorite one's the one outside of Pod that can make you pay Kiki again.
Yes, and
that would only at least sneak up on you once.
Yeah, I think we've seen that happen already in the tournament too. Somebody got hit by that Moblin and had to pay Kiki again. My absolutely favorite Moblin is the one on the way to Quake after Skull, after you go through the castle warp. Because sometimes you can get an RNG where he throws a spear at you and you can charge a dash and turn around and block it with your shield. And then finish your dash off, and it looks so cool.
Yeah, I've seen that one a couple times actually. And ooh, DK already on Mire 2, we'll see. Yeah, nice one cycle.
Clean as heck. Very nicely done. Yeah, you definitely want to one cycle those Wizardobes there. Waiting around on them to become vulnerable to damage again will definitely cost you a lot of time. So very nicely executed Mire 2 there.
And unfortunately, I was watching on Vasco's screen and missed what happened. There's a chat reference to maybe there was a bird toss. I didn't see it though, if it happened.
Oh dang.
I'd
be remiss if we...
I was gonna say, if I didn't hype up his bird toss. Very important. It's right up there with fence dash.
Absolutely, yes. It's gonna... The bird toss, though, is more important for RNG manipulation at the end of the run, so... Alright, let's check on DK's torches time here. 107.39, so... That's actually a really solid pace, even for him. That's got to be pretty close to his PB, I would imagine. He is a low 127 runner, mid 127. So
sounds like PB pace then.
Possible for him to PB. I mean, endgame is not easy, but I know DK has been definitely practicing a little bit in the days before these matches, so can definitely see some good stuff out of him.
I would love to see a double PB this race. I think that would just be...
You know what? That would be attorney first, actually. We have not seen that yet. Yeah, we've seen like 7 or 8 PBs so far, but never 2 runners in the same race. That would be sick.
And I guess here again, this screen with the big chest, another reason to do Swamp before Mire is to have hookshot there for exactly that screen.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely doable without hookshot, but the movement is a lot tighter, and I, for one, am terrible at it.
Yeah, I've been fiddling around with it, and just like every time I get to that screen, I'm just like, okay, don't screw up this dash. Just like dash cancel in the right window, get around, and just go. And I haven't beefed it yet, but it's terrifying every single time.
So DK is in the room. That is actually the only reason we need the Cane of Samaria in this entire run, to put that block on that switch right there.
Gets it first try. Sets it up very nicely. We'll see some additional use for the cane. I guess... What is he to do about T-Rock?
Just hover, man.
Just hover, man? Okay.
Yeah. It's free. I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't. No, it's actually insanely difficult, and as far as I know, only 2 people have ever done it. But it is possible to do. Maybe someday we'll find a way to skip needing the cane at all. The next one, or actually the other big one, would be being able to skip the ice drug, since you only need that for Trinux. But we're not on any of those bosses. DK is rolling into the Vidi fight right now. Each of those little eyeballs there does 4 hearts of damage, but he's going to intentionally take damage from the goo here, which only does 1 heart. And then he's going to use his iframes to be able to get in there and release a spin on Vidi. Gotta dodge the lightning, which can also eat your arrows. Fun fact. But yeah, finishing up the fight nicely. Gets out of there with his life.
Is the lightning 4 hearts, or is the lightning fewer than 4 hearts? I can't remember.
I want to say it's 2, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think so.
And that was a lot less dangerous than it might have been, than it looked at first.
But Vidi can definitely be deceptive. Sometimes you'll think that he is done and he's going to be going into his next cycle.
Vascos.
Yeah, let's keep an eye on Vascos here in the Argus fight. He's sitting at 2 hearts, which if he runs into anything right now, it's going to be bad news.
Being very, very careful. Yeah, I'm glad to see him not hooking from the bottom there.
Yeah. And especially not getting anywhere close to Argus, because he can just charge you all of a sudden. But he's not out of the woods yet. Looks like he's going to go for the Fire Rod quick kill here. Alright, that works. Nicely done. That's going to save him about a second there, so... that's some confidence to still go for that with 2 hearts, so... Nicely done.
And no Waffle House from DK. Shame.
Well, the original Waffle House is something you do not want to happen. Let me just drop that command in chat real quick so that everyone can just experience that glory.
That's true. No Waffle House drive-through. Sorry.
Yeah, the drive-through is definitely what you want to get.
Yeah. You do want to drive-through.
It's just more fast, more efficient. You know, everyone just gets on their way. And nobody has to deal with any squirrels. So.
These squirrels, though. So far, yeah, they treated him pretty well on this trip.
Absolutely, yeah. That is some of the better squirrel RNG I have ever seen. So you're always happy to get through there with minimal damage.
So I have my guesses, but what is the origin of calling that Waffle House?
It's actually named after the runner who stars in that clip, Waffle42, who actually is in this tournament. So you'll be seeing some action from him later on. But yeah, he is the one who made that clip happen, going from full HP down to 0 in that spot, just solely due to squirrels and boulders. So yeah, he got stuck in the Waffle House, as it's affectionately called now. It's so good.
Yeah, I was happy to see Waffle come off the wait list and make it into this tournament.
Same, yeah. I was really happy to see him. I mean, he hasn't played this game in forever, but he plays a lot of other games. He's a top-tier speedrunner. He's really good at this game. I'm sure that he'll be able to de-rust pretty quickly and at least have some decent runs. So I'm excited to see him playing this game again.
Absolutely. And DK had a nice roller strat there, getting the D-boost to clip through the bottom roller in the roller small key room. And on to Chomps.
Yeah, another good room there too.
Yeah. Not getting
another abusive iframes.
Yeah. So far a clean T-Rock from DK. This next room that DK is about to do after riding the next pipe, that is That is possibly the room that I need to work on the most. This room just never goes well for me. So hopefully he can keep it together and get okay pokey RNG here.
Yeah, that's one of the easier ones to deal with there. Any of the ones where they're up against the wall. The two more difficult ones are on the left side of the room there, but didn't have to deal with either one of those. Nice chest turn on the big key. Swag.
He may be listening.
Alright, so that was looks like a low 115 torches time for Vascos, so relatively sure that he is still on pretty good pace here. Alright, DK in the double pokey room now.
And gets his fairy, which means I think the next thing is the full magic, but he's good on magic, so maybe there was a full magic already and I just missed the pickup.
No, you're correct. The full magic comes right after the fairy, which, you know, as you pointed out, he doesn't actually need at this point, so he's stocked, he's free rolling, man.
And good use of those sword beams there from that fairy fill up there, getting through that roller chest room. And I guess I didn't get back to it, but Vascos did do Swamp already, so Swamp before Mire, I think we may be seeing Tempered and Silverless strats out of Vascos for the rest of the game. And I'm in a little trouble with this chest switch, but thankfully he's got Powder, so hopefully he'll get to fill up here on the Anti-Fairy in the next room. Or one of the bunny beams under the pot.
Yep, both are good options. DK there had a nice laser skip. Looks like he's had a really nice T-Rock so far, actually. I haven't seen him take much damage beyond what he's already had to, what he's done intentionally, so... Gonna grab this full magic here to refill for the Trinex fight after he puts that platform down.
Yeah, that was other than that last little Samaria block there at the very end, a pretty textbook T-Rock there from DK, assuming that, you know, Trinex doesn't do it.
Going for the backdoor strat here on Trinex, which can be a little bit safer since you're more likely to not have to deal with the ice at all. He's going to go for a double hit by spinning really close to Trinex. He's going to release pretty much right when the shell disappears. Pause buffer to the hook shot to make sure that you got it and finish him off with one slash. Interesting thing about Trinex in that second phase there is when he comes out, you can actually hit any part of him and damage him, but after a certain period of time, you can only damage him by hitting him in the middle, so we kind of abuse that fact to finish the fight early by getting that double hit with the spin, and then just finishing off with a slash pretty much anywhere on his body.
Exactly, and Vascos about to enter his Vitreous fight. We'll see what he goes for. Looks like he's setting up for Dklutie24 and getting that second spin, and third spin's good, and is... Oh my gosh! That is a beautiful zero cycle there.
Yo, nicely done,
Nice
Vascos.
kill, Vascos.
Great fight, man. Alright, so DK is going to be rolling into G-Tower here, which, in my opinion, is some of the finest speedrunning that you can see executed, especially when it goes really well. Ganon's Tower is very high octane. There's really no downtime at all. Each of the rooms has, you know, a pretty difficult, you know, very cool looking strat often, so it's a very, very fun watch. So make sure and pay close attention to DK as he goes through this G Tower here and how he executes on these rooms coming up.
Not too much to add on that. It's just going to be, you know, a show to watch him finish this off. But he's, what did you say his PB was? A low 127?
Yep, 127.29.
Okay, so there's I think plenty of room here.
Yeah, he's definitely got he's still got the potential. Depending on how this G tower goes. Yeah, I mean, endgame practice is something that I always highly recommend to pretty much every new runner that comes along. I often encourage people to practice the game backwards, and especially starting with Ganon's tower here, because just by the nature of this tower, and it's the culmination of the entire game, you know, and you're employing everything that you've learned and acquired leading up to this point. So it's a really great spot to practice and learn and apply it to other parts of the game as you go through it. And it's going to be invaluable when it comes to runs, because when you get to this point and you are on pace, it is a feeling like no other. It cannot be paralleled at all. It is just pure adrenaline rush going through here.
That's one of the things I like the most about the A Link to the Past run, is that, you know, all of the end segments of the game are really fitting of being sort of culmination segments.
Ooh. So yeah, one of those things is that you have to refight all of the Light World bosses that you defeated, so with, you know, their own little twist. And the twist on this fight is that it's on ice, and you saw DK there. Unfortunately, let loose one of his arrows just a little bit too soon. So had a kind of rough fight there, but actually cleaned it up pretty quickly. That fight can go much worse, especially if you run out of arrows, but he was still able to kill the Red Armos with his arrows. Something we should note and probably pay attention to. I'm not sure if that Armos fight was long enough, but the longer you are in that Armos fight, and more specifically the super tile that fight is in, there's a variable that the game tracks that also controls the rotation and spawn of the fire bats during the Ganon fight. So you could potentially get a slightly different pattern on that fight, but right now you should just keep your eye on these Mimics rooms and the Spike room coming up. The Mimics rooms are some of the best in the game. Those were both really well executed. Oh, he's going for the bow dash! Shoutouts to Scrivo, who I know is a big fan of that strat. It's actually one of the fastest strats in this room, if not the fastest, and just looks really sick. That was cool.
Oh, and Vascos.
Oh, jumps. Oh, okay. Oh man, he was so smart there. I thought he handled that so well. He was really patient and waited for the iframes. But yeah, the chomps, they're just pure RNG and they can move lightning quick. So man, that's a rough room. Really not one of the absolute worst deaths in T-Rock to take. Obviously, as you get further into the dungeon, it gets rougher. But man, why are chomps even in this game? Alright, so DK finishing up the gauntlets here, which we referred to earlier. Went through it so fast, I didn't even see half of it, so must have been pretty decent. I'd say, oh, that was such a sick kill on that landmo. Unfortunately, he got really bad RNG with the other ones as well. He got a really bad short hop on this landmo refight, but cleans the fight up pretty nicely. Vascos back in chomps.
And playing it a little safe there at the end, just making sure to get to this next room or set of rooms where there's going to be plenty of anti-fairies for the powdering. So
yeah, I kind of thought he would have powdered that first one there, especially with that pokey right there. That was kind of scary, but yeah, there's, like you said, there's plenty more coming up, so I think it'll be fun.
Yeah, another prime spot for powder to be very, very useful. And yeah, Vascos is ready to fire off the powder at all four of those anti-fairies, just leaving two of them to rust or rot.
Or, you know, like, get to know each other, maybe develop a relationship, and
they're
lifelong friends. Okay, fine.
or you know, could be a more friendly approach, but
nah. This game is pretty dark, honestly, so you're probably right.
Yeah, the color palette would fool you, but
yeah. All right, so DK, nice, gets the slow dash there. That can happen if a bomb or a Samaria block is landing, and you are starting your dash at that point. You can get that really slow dashing state, which is kind of cool to see actually. All right, so Moldorm refight here. Typically not as bad because you can usually just do a slash and a spin, but DK got a poke off there, which is why he had to wait out the fight a little bit longer. But it looks like he'll be okay here. Going to be heading into the Aga2 fight soon.
yeah, so hopefully we'll see a clean Aga2. I would like to see the double triple, get the good coin flip on round 2 and make it through. It's the geometry quiz part of the game.
Nice slashing in time with music. I always appreciate that. Nice triple off the start. Let's see if he can get good RNG. Knocking blue ball. Ends up getting the blue ball, unfortunately, which can throw you off. Oh, nice to get that double there still. So a 3-cycle Aga2 fight. Really, really solid out of DK.
Yeah, that was the absolute minimum that was afforded him by the game, so an optimal Aga2, given what he had to work with. And Vascos having a little bit of laser skip trouble, but getting through, only taking 1 hit. And again, we'll have opportunities for powdering an anti-fairy coming up in this next room, so...
Yeah, so DK starting up the Ganon fight here. 4-phase fight, each requires 12 hits with this tempered sword. He's going to get a bunch of them right there by doing a trident spin, a bunch more by doing a double spin against the wall here, and now he's going to dash inside this circle of fire bats. And let's actually watch where these fire bats come out and see if they spawn in the normal spot. No, they don't. That is not the normal spot for those fire bats to come out, so it can be kind of tough to dodge those sometimes, but DK handled it relatively well. I think he's going to be pretty safe from here on out, coming up on these next few phases of the fight here.
And nothing about the fight is free, but after you're through phase 2, most runners feel a lot more comfortable about executing without getting hit, and so hopefully he's able to take this one, bring it home.
Yeah, you always feel pretty comfortable, especially after you get Torch Glitch, which he did. Even taking that fire bat hit there. I mean, he's sitting at half a heart right now, but I feel like he's probably done this fight so many times that he should be comfortable from here on out. So I think he can pull it through. He needs 12 spins total here on Ganon while he's slightly vulnerable as he teleports.
Yeah, very nice health management on this fight, knowing exactly how many hits he had to give here, and just tanking that fire back.
Ooh, also pretty good timing on these lightings, on most of these lightings. He's trying to get at least 2 spins after each lighting, but at maximum 3, and finishes up the Ganon fight. He's fine with half a heart, no problem. Looks like he went for some swag rod dash there. I'm not sure he got it though. Let's see. Nice, dude. Sick dash. That was cool. GG to DK, rolling in with a 128.27. That is an excellent race time.
Have an official SRL time of 128.28, as it will go down in the books, but 128.27 on his splits. GG to DK. Meanwhile, Vascos getting hook speed off of the T-Rock exit has only GT left. And I think that that Chomp's death may have done in the PB from a 1... Well, or no, he's running against... Was it a 140 is he running against, or was it a 134?
I think it was a 140 something.
If it's a 134, there's no shot, but no, it's okay.
Minus 315 after T-Rock.
315. Yeah, he letting us know that Vascos has a 1:23.19, a very competitive time in this game.
Really, he has world record. That's impressive.
Yeah. Okay, he's running against a 1:43. So yeah, he is still absolutely on PB pace. So let's cheer on Vascos through the rest of the run. Hope he gets it.
Let's definitely cheer him on. He's making really good use of the cane there in those rooms you just saw. Not really the typical strat that you see, but definitely a really cool use of an item that we don't really get to use as much. And it's kind of a shame. So.
Okay, let's see what Vascos does here for the Ice Armos fight coming up. We saw DK have a little bit of trouble. Honestly, I think it's one of the hardest fights in the game, even though there are definite sort of well-established quick kill strats. I think that there's just, especially when you do mess up and it goes off script, so to say. I think it's one of the ones where, even if the risk of dying isn't as prominent, there's a huge risk of just major time loss. So hopefully he's able to get a good fight here.
Wow, some sick dodges out of that anti-fairy to not get battered, it looks like.
Yeah, he wanted it, but the anti-fairy had the jukes.
Alright, so in the Ice Armos fight now, looks like he's going to have actually a nice, clean, quick kill here. Not going to get the red Armos. Nicely done.
That was a perfect Ice Armos fight there. I mean, or within reason. A very nicely executed Ice Armos fight.
Definitely a very good one.
I'll walk back that perfect.
Not the most optimal, but definitely a very good one. Anytime you get the quick kill, it's a good one.
Someone was going to come at me about that perfect. I already felt it.
Good instincts there. So DK is letting us know in chat here that he dropped his controller during Ice Armos. So that's why he had the slight struggle there. So.
It's always interesting to get a little insight into what's actually going on behind what we see on screen.
Alright, so we're rounding up DK for post-match interview here. So you guys will get to hear his perspective on the run. Yo, DK, GG.
Yo, thanks, man.
Yes, congrats on the win, GG.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, that's a really solid race time. Anytime you can sub 130 in a race, and especially, one of this magnitude in front of all these fine folks here, definitely a really good run. So how'd you feel about it overall?
Yeah, man, I felt really good. It's definitely the best I have played since I've been back, so can't complain. The only thing I can complain about is dropping my controller during Ice Armos. I went to grab my drink and I dropped it. So I was sitting in a pool of water and my controller on the ground.
Oh, no.
So I tried to quickly grab my controller, move the water off my lap, and so I was happy with that. But
yeah, well, I mean, you recovered from it very well, yeah. I would say. That's probably about the best that could go after that. Scrivo would like to pass along his sincere thanks for doing that bow dash in the spike room in G Tower.
Oh yeah, all the swag. Yeah, I was practicing doing some D-Rust and was in that room having trouble, and he's like, if you're gonna do any strat, you have to do this one. So shout outs to Scrivo. No, that trick's actually pretty easy. Like, it's not too difficult, and it's the only way I can actually do it consistently now because it's the only way I've practiced it. So
that's pretty awesome, dude.
It was a cool strat. I hadn't seen it before, so I'm glad that you got to showcase it.
Yeah. How was I on like on pace. I had both my monitors, so I had no idea what the time was. I just had the voice channel kind of in.
You had a pretty mid like 107 Meyer torches time.
Yeah, it was a 107.39 torches.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So I felt like the pace was pretty good.
Yeah. I definitely said that, you know, you could potentially PB, and I don't really know exactly what your end game is like that you're running against there, but I definitely think that you're capable.
So I have like 30 seconds to save in T-Rock on my splits, but then I'm running against a gold G tower, so it's like kind of hand in hand, I guess.
Yeah. That could be kind of rough for sure, but yeah, I'm definitely going to put you on the PB watch list though, because that was a really solid run, man. Definitely.
Yeah, well, thank you. And best of luck to Vascos. It looks like he's on pretty good pace, so
yeah, he's definitely on pace as well.
Hopefully we see a PB from him.
Yeah, he's just finishing up the first torches room of G Tower here.
Oh, no.
He's going to have to be a little bit careful in the next room. Oh, gets a laser to the face.
Does he have a? Does he have?
Oh no!
Does he have a bottle?
No, he doesn't. He only took powder. Yeah.
Oh,
So
no,
that is a really unfortunate death. I'm not sure on the exact time loss on that. I'm not sure if PB is still in reach,
3 or
but
4 minutes.
Yeah, that's a really rough
close.
But those lasers obviously do 4 hearts of damage, so taking 2 shots there was deadly.
Yeah, he's gonna need an arrow drop and he got 10 arrows there from the first mimic, so.
Oh no.
Hopefully
and he's back down to 2 hearts too.
Oh, yeah, he's.
Yeah, and he's showing why these mimics rooms, if they start to go poorly, they can get really out of hand. Like anytime you have a room where these BMOs are, oh man, that can be really rough because once they start shooting at you, they stop, which means that they're pretty much going to aggro on you immediately after that, and it can be hard to move out of that since you've just taken damage. So definitely in kind of a rough spot right now. If he gets through this spike room though, there is a spot where he can grab a couple of fairies. He does have a bomb, and I think actually it's already blown open, so he'll be fine.
Yeah, he went in there the first time, so it should still be open for him. So there will be 2 more fairies waiting there. He'll get that full health refill. And oh, he's reflexively grabbing the bomb and tossing it into the abyss.
Frustration bomb, you know, you just gotta take it out every once in a while. It's totally fine, but he's gonna be working his way through the gauntlet now. He needs to defeat all of the enemies in this room before he can proceed to the next one. And they all do a pretty significant amount of damage. Taking damage there, though, while you do have sword beams, isn't really the worst thing because trying to defeat those enemies with sword beams can be kind of painful sometimes because sword beams just don't really work the way that you think they do in this game. They do a lot less damage, and sometimes you'll think that you're hitting a guy exactly with your sword, but it's actually the sword beam that is hitting him. So
all the time, sword beams get me every time in Gauntlet. I'm like, why is this Stalfos not dying? it's always sword beams every time.
Sometimes you'll see runners actually intentionally just after they get that fairy refill fall off the ledge and just take that heart of damage immediately. So, and then you got these Stalfos who every time you slash at them and don't kill them, they jump away and throw a projectile at you. So yeah, these rooms are not easy to deal with. The game just throws everything at you it possibly can.
Yeah, for any runners that are still I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, by all means.
I'm just saying, Gauntlet is definitely one of like the hardest parts of Ganon's Tower, and being able to kind of identify the RNG that's in the room and kind of work your strat as best as possible is definitely one of the most difficult parts in Ganon's Tower. So for any new runners, definitely practice that sequence of rooms because it's very difficult to keep the amount of health that you have and also do it quickly.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, there's so much RNG, and like you said, it's just all about reading and reacting appropriately. The room is pretty much never going to go the same way twice. So you got to be prepared for all of those scenarios as best as possible. G-Tower practice is the truth.
If you don't practice G-Tower forces you to practice it by...
Well said. Very well said, yes.
And so you just may as well do it when it's not in the middle of a run.
Alright, so Vascos... yeah, he'll be
small
fine.
drop here and then a full magic in the next room, so he'll be set up for the very top again.
Alright, so returning to the scene of the crime here, let's see, he'll make it cleanly up these stairs this time, so officially further into G-Tower now.
Oh, no.
So something we saw Vascos do a few rooms ago on the first Wizrow room that I wanted to ask about because I'm honestly not sure, I haven't timed it out. Into the first Wizrow room, he turned to cancel stair lag and turned right out of the room, and then laid his Samaria block. Does that spawn does the stair lag delay the Wizrobe spawn or no?
As far as I know, it doesn't have anything to do with the Wizrobe spawn. The only way that affects stair lag is that in order to actually cancel stair lag, you need to move for 2 pixels, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, you have to move
if you
normally.
Yeah, so if you move to the left, your first frame of movement is going to be 2 pixels, but if you move to the right, you actually have to move for 2 frames.
That's interesting. So, I thought it was 2 frames, but if just 2 pixels, then you
it's pixels. Moving right there too, it lines you up perfectly to go straight down. And so like in that room, I hold right for those 2 pixels to line myself up in the middle of the room. And then you can just walk straight down, plant your Samaria block where the 2 Wizrobes are at. And then from there, you can hold down left until the Wizrobe gets hit. And then you hold down right, and it'll line you perfectly back up with the door.
Yeah.
I think that was a double there on the second round.
It's the main reason for going right in that room is because it just lines you up perfectly for that strat. So yeah, I didn't see the damage counts, but
so we're 4 rounds in. It was 1,
it looked like a
maybe
4
2. Okay, we won't know if the second one counted or the round 2 one counted. It was a nice, I guess 5 round there. It was a 1 or 2, 0, 2, 2. So closing the fight very nicely from Vascos.
Yep. Let's all cheer him on as he finishes up the Ganon fight and closes out this race.
Yeah,
let's go, Vascos. You got this.
You know, a time that's very close to his PB. So hopefully he can finish off strongly here, doing a silverless tempered sword Ganon. So see what. Oh, taking a hug. Just to lead off, going for that spin inside the trident there, trying to get the double hit, and just getting a little too close to the pig.
Insta-hug, unfortunately. I mean, that's actually, yeah, if you're going to die at any point in the fight, might as well do it right at the beginning, I suppose.
Yeah. And deciding that 8 hearts is enough. And getting the double spin that time, taking a trident hit, so not too much to give depending on damage source. Maybe one hit to give here for the rest of the fight. But
yeah, nice RNG here by getting the top right. He can get these double spins, and as long as he does 3 of them, he'll be good to go to get out of this phase. Ooh, that was a little risky hooking out the left side there. Usually you'll see...
Yeah, that was really scary.
Usually you'll see people kind of walk down a little bit and hook down to the torch, since that will take you out of the ring of bats.
Fun fact, if you're in that top right after the third spin, if you immediately dash, you will always dash out of those bats without getting hit too.
Really?
Out of that ring. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. I didn't know that. I'm gonna have to try that.
Yeah,
eat that one.
so if you're in the top right, if you get in that top right hand corner and you do the double spins like Vascos just did, if you dash immediately left afterwards, you're still at the max that the bats are like pushed out in that big circle. You actually have enough time and enough room to dash out of that without having to hook or anything like that.
Yeah, that's sick.
Yeah, that is some really cool knowledge. I definitely was not aware.
That used to be a strat that I used back when I had a 145.
Yeah, so I kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier, but you kind of weren't really playing much NMG until the tournament came around. So you took like a little bit of a break from the game, if I recall correctly. How long were you not playing for?
I haven't played in 18 months, so a year and a half.
Wow, dude.
Well,
That's
yeah.
pretty crazy. Yeah, glad to have you back. It's good to see that you're already cranking out these kind of times. So good stuff, right? Vascos finishing up the Ganon fight really soon here. Just needs a few more spins in this 4th phase.
How much work did you put into derusting for the tournament?
I tried to do at least 45 minutes to an hour of practice a day, and then try to do at least probably like a 1 derust run every single time I was available to stream and to do a derust. So I did like probably 15 hours of derust, just going through strats or going through dungeons and rooms, and then just a derust a day basically up until this point. So I've probably done 10 runs since I've been back, plus the little derust.
And Vascos is finished up. Meanwhile, getting successfully through the Ganon fight there. So GG to Vascos.
Yeah, good job.
1:45:39. At least on Speedruns Live. Looks like a 1:45:26 on his timer.
Yeah, he mentioned something about his timer being faster, and he has no idea why, but he can probably tell us himself, so as he is joining us right now. So what's
Welcome
up,
to Vascos?
Yeah, thank you. I don't know why. I know I had got done very late, but didn't feel like 13 seconds.
Yeah, probably not. So, but GG, man. Way to deal with all the crap that this game can throw at you, and keep on trucking through and finish out the run. It looked like you were on really solid pace there until that really unfortunate mishap at the end.
Yes, GG Vascos.
Yeah, good job, man.
The best part, my highlight was the hammer fight. So pretty
that was sick. I was able to see that. That was awesome.
Yeah, that phase 2 was ridiculous.
Your video was also insane.
Oh yeah, I've practiced that a lot. Cause so comfy to do that.
Yeah, but
I was 1 arrow away from a 2-cycle. Remember, I was so upset.
Oh yeah, dude. Okay, I almost forgot about that. That was a really ridiculous landmill fight. You killed one of the worms in the very first cycle, right?
Yeah. So I had the right landmill was going down left. So when I went to start shooting arrows down at the 3rd worm, he landed right in my way. So I had all 4 on him.
Yeah, that was the best landmo fight I've seen thus far this tournament. Really, really well done.
Yeah, I was really hoping to pull out a 2-cycle there, but I don't know why I did Sword Slash. If I had enough time to shoot another arrow, if I would have shot another arrow down, it would have been a 2-cycle for sure. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah, once you see that 2-cycle potential, like the nerves really start to kick in.
Yeah.
Like, and your stomach like does a flip flop, and like, holy crap, I can actually get this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's the same for a 3-cycle for me. So.
All right, I'm gonna go grab some food real fast and go to the restroom. It looks like I have another race in about 30 minutes.
You are racing on later today at 4 p.m. correct?
At 4 p.m.
Eastern. Yeah.
Eastern. So yeah, like 30 minutes. So I'm gonna grab some food real fast and use the restroom, and we'll be back.
Well, good luck on your next race.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Good game. Congrats on the win. And so everyone, that was DK. Go give him and Vascos a follow if you enjoyed the race, which I hope y'all did. Both runners did an excellent job.
Yeah, Vascos, man, it looks like you can PB almost on any run, so definitely going to have you on the PB watch list going forward throughout the tournament. Do you happen to have any more matches scheduled?
Tomorrow is against Emetatron.
Nice, dude.
Very nice. Well, good luck.
Yeah, thank you.
And hopefully we see that fat PB coming anytime now from you. I mean, it's clear that it's right there for the taking. So hopefully, you know,
at least it's a new
you're able
run
to
for
knock it out.
speedrun.com.
Nice, dude. Yeah, for sure. We can get that PB updated on the leaderboards. So, but yeah, as DK mentioned, he does have another race coming up here in half an hour, which will be right here on Speed Gaming 2. So be sure to stick around. Plenty more matches coming up today, not only right here, but on other channels as well. We got a few more races scheduled for tonight, so hopefully we'll be able to bring you some of that action later on. But we thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I have been Greenham, and I have been joined on commentary graciously by Maniacal. Thank you, dude, so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun, and thank you, chat, for keeping us in check. It was a lot of fun. Hope y'all enjoyed the race, and hopefully you enjoy the one at 4 p.m. as well. If you are enjoying the races, feel free to please give Speed Gaming 2, 3, 4, 5, all follows. Throw some support Feasel's way. It's awesome that Speed Gaming's having us for this tournament, and I couldn't be happier with you know, how it's going so far.
All right, GG's everyone. We'll see you soon.